Okay, let's do the last half of this worksheet together. Okay, so it says a square has an area of 12 square inches. Okay, so we're looking for the side length, and we know that all the sides are the same. So if we had a square that was 25 square inches for an area, we could find the square root of 25 really easily. It would be 5. But we can see that 12 does not show up on our list of perfect squares, does it? Okay, so we know that we're going to have a mixed radical for an answer, okay? Back in grade 8 and grade 9, what you would have done is you would have just picked up a calculator and you would have found the square root of 12 and you would have told me that it was 3 and we'd round to maybe 46/100ths, okay? But we don't want it as a decimal this time. We want it as a mixed radical. So we're going to take that 12, divide it by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And here's our list of prime factors, and because it's a square root, we're looking for numbers to show up in groups of 2. So there's that 2 that becomes your coefficient. We write down the root sign, it's a square root, and what's left over? 3. Okay, we take a look back up in here. Do we have such an answer? We do. Letter D. Okay, now if you remember in grade 9, I would have done a ton of this with you at the board, except instead of talking about radicals, we would have been using rational numbers. And so I would have given you a list of decimals and fractions, and I would have said, organize these in least to greatest. Okay, this time it says greatest to least, but that's not a big deal. And so we would have turned all of them into decimals because it would have been a lot easier for us to look at them. Okay, so that principle is what we're going to use right now. Okay, so we're going to take each of these because they're not anything that we can compare right now, and we're just going to turn them into decimal numbers. Okay, we're going to try and do that, and they're going to be irrational, but we're just going to round them to the 100th place, to the second place. So I'm going to show you on a calculator how you do this first one. This says 2 root 30, and remember I told you that this is like a coefficient or a multiplier. Because it's outside of the root 30, we're multiplying it. So you punch it into your calculator like this: 2 times root 30. Then you hit equal, okay, and I said we're going to round, okay, so we're going to round to 10 and 95/100ths, okay, and we're just going to keep going. 3 times root 3, and we're going to get 5 and 2/10ths we're going to round to, okay, so I'm just going to circle these so I don't get them confused. We're going to keep going. 2 times root 7, and we get 5 and 29/100ths, so that was close, but this one's a little bit bigger. And then finally 5 times root 5, and we get 11 and 18/100ths. Okay, so now it says least to greatest, so we just go back up here, and which is the biggest number? Well, the one that was biggest was 5 root 5, and then I always cross them off so I don't look at them again, followed by 2 root 30. I cross it off. Now these ones were the 2 that were closest, but we're going greatest to least. So 2 root 7 would come next, and then lastly 3 root 3. Okay, and it's multiple choice, so let's just try and find them up here. Looks like letter B has it. Okay, so that's all we're going to do. Okay, question number 8. Write 8 root 19 as an entire radical. So remember, if this multiplier or coefficient is out in front, that means we took it out from under the root sign twice. So we're just going to go backwards on this. 8 squared, I would just punch it into a calculator. I wouldn't bother doing it. 8 squared is 64 times 19, and we get root 12, 1,216. Now I'm going to tell you the biggest error that I see when this is happening is people give me the answer like this. Okay, it's not 1,216. Okay, it's the root, the square root of 1,216. Please make sure that you draw the radical sign in, and make sure that if there is a index that you write it properly. Okay, now it says we can use a calculator, so good for us. Okay, we're going to try and find the cube root of 1,372. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor ladder. We know that this is divisible by 2, and I would just have a calculator handy. I would go like this. Okay, and we get 686, and we take that 686, and we know that that's divisible by 2. And now we get 343. Now 343 is not divisible by 2. Is it divisible by 3? No. 343 is actually divisible by 7. Okay, so then we get 49, and now we're back into territory that we're comfortable with, so we get 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Okay, because we've got an index of 3, we're looking for numbers to show up in groups of 3, and there we have it, the 7s. So we make that into our coefficient, we draw a radical sign, and look at, I'm not going to forget this, we have an index of 3. That is so very, very important. So I'm going to put that back in. What's left over? 2 times 2, which is 4. Entire radical, mixed radical. Okay, so now we're going to try it with a bigger number even. I hope I'm having enough room here. Now we're going to find the fifth root of 28,125. So 28,125. Okay, what's that divisible by? Well, I know 5 for sure, but I have to check a smaller prime number, which is 3, and sure enough, that one works. Okay, we end up with 9,375. Bring that back over here. Is that divisible by 3 again? It is. I get 3,125. Bring it back over here. That's no longer divisible by 3, but it is divisible by 5, and you get 625. 625 is also divisible by 5, and you get 125. 125 is divisible by 5, you get 25. 25 is divisible by 5, you get 5. 5 is divisible by 5, and you get 1. All right, index of 5. So we're looking for numbers to show up in groups of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you have it. That's going to become our coefficient or our multiplier. We're going to write our radical sign down, and now we have to remember that we were looking for fifth roots. So we're going to put the index back in of 5, and then what's left over? 3 times 3, which is 9, and that is our answer. Okay, we're going to try another assignment like this just so we can practice. This is pretty important before we move on.